Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. My friends, I have my friend Jim Calvin with me today to talk about a subject that needs to be talked about, death and dying, and I am very grateful that he stepped up to the plate with his own personal experience and insight as a Zen, the Abbot of the Zen Center, and a Bodhisattva teacher. How did I do on that? Close.
Bodhisattva.
Bodhisattva. Anyway, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here again.
I know.
Always nice to see you.
It's good to see you too, and I don't know where we can begin except that you've had an event recently that's brought all this to the fore where we can process the process. We can look at death and dying and what it has meant to you, and I'll let you take over from there to just talk about your event.
I will do that. The event, which I'm going to talk about pretty briefly, and the reason has to do about explaining and understanding, and I'll get back to that.
Okay.
The event is that we've got part of our family, our son and his family, live up north. For the past year or so, there have been a number of problems, including mental health problems within the family. And it has been a difficult situation, but it seemed to us all last fall that he was doing fine.
Your son? Our
son was doing fine. Then in mid-December, we got a phone call from our daughter, his sister, that our son and his son, our grandson, were found dead in their apartment.
How old was the grandson?
The grandson was 14, our son was 49. Very successful and very unexpected, because we'd been visiting and seeing them, and everything seemed, it was a difficult situation, but everything seemed fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into a lot of details. As I said, explaining doesn't really help.
Yeah.
But what we do know is our grandson died, and we're not sure how, because there's nobody to tell us how.
Yeah.
And after a day or two after that happened, our son took his own life.
Now, did they go together, or?
Again, I don't really know.
Yeah.
It would seem not simultaneously. It was within probably 2 days of each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we do know that our grandson died, and then our son hanged himself.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
That's a tough one.
It is tough. But there's so many lessons. We've got a funny saying in Zen, and that is, a bad situation is a good situation.
I like that.
Oh, I treasure it.
Yeah.
And what it means is everything that happens in life, if it's difficult, we can benefit from it.
That's true.
A great deal.
Yes.
So, for example, you know, but we'll tell our viewers too, I walk with a cane. I don't walk so well anymore.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, because it's part of getting old, and it's part of understanding that my body is giving out.
Yeah.
May give out today, may give out in 20 years.
We got to get you through 28 minutes here.
Okay, 28 minutes. Just prop me up. No.
But yeah. I'm noticing a few little things going on here, like not running as hard as I could or as far, and trying to keep a sense of humor.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look in the mirror and say, God, you're still here.
and another part of it is very simply acceptance, like the Serenity Prayer. God grant me to accept the things I cannot change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here it is.
That sort of sounds easy, doesn't it?
Yeah. It sounds easy. It can be difficult, but if you get used to it, it does become easy. For me, it's very easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything that's happened, has been relatively easy too. Partly acceptance, partly my Zen practice, and partly the things that we'll talk about, including, if you're ready,
I'm ready.
Understanding and explaining.
Yeah. Okay, let's go there.
Everybody understands that understanding and explaining won't change the situation, won't change what happened.
Right.
What's more important to me is that if I'm thinking about it, trying to explain it, trying to understand it, then I'm not right here, right now.
Beautifully said.
It is as if, for example, you and I are talking and I started deciding I was going to think about my tofu seaweed mushroom soup recipe. You know, if I start thinking about that, it's one of my favorite soups.
Ooh.
But if I start thinking about that, I'm not here with you right now.
That is so
I'm not
true.
in the present.
You're in the soup bowl.
I'm in the big pot. So some understanding is necessary, and I'll tell you why. It's not for me. I really don't need to understand anything, but I've got other family members who are grieving, and some explanation is important to them.
Yeah.
So there has been a little bit of understanding and explaining, but for me it's not necessary.
Yeah.
So that I'm living each moment right here, right now.
Yeah.
And when it's necessary is when a family member says, how can that happen, or how did this happen?
Right.
I go, oh, well, okay, here's my mini explanation, I'll do that.
Right.
But not because I need to understand or explain it.
Yeah, we had mentioned even before the show started about doing groups, and when someone gets off on a story, it's like we're not present, we're not here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah, it's about something instead of being present.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to be, because we're alive no matter what.
Right, absolutely.
Dead or alive, we're alive.
We are alive, and I'll get back to that one too. But that in itself is a great lesson. Be present.
Yeah.
You know, if someone is crying or looks sad or saying things, I'm right there. You know, what do you need to talk about?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Do you need a hug?
Yeah.
That, not, oh, let me tell you about what happened 3 months ago.
Right, or give them advice. You just be a presence and let them honor wherever they are.
Yeah.
Yep, good. That's healing.
I hope so, and that's what a bodhisattva is supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is grieving.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks somebody dies, you grieve.
Mm-hmm.
My grieving has been fairly minimal. It's not non-existent, but I'll explain what it's been. It's not grieving because my son and my grandson died, because I understand death, and we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
My grieving has been when my wife, my daughter, any family member is sad and having a hard time, then that makes me sad.
Of course.
That is grieving.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's just part of being present with them. When somebody is sad, I am sad. Our
sure.
Zen master says that.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
saying. When somebody's sad, I'm sad.
Yeah.
When somebody's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So that's been part of it. The other part of it is I do feel sad and grieve that my son felt life was so bad that he had to end it.
Yeah.
That's sad.
That is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel, well, that's another question about the story, which I don't know if you want to go there, but did you feel that maybe he was just doing what he needed to do to have some relief, or to...
Maybe, not
we'll never
being
know.
there, we're not going to know.
We're never going to know.
All we can assume is that it was bad enough that he took the course that he took.
Yeah, yeah, and you're talking about something all our audience needs to hear, because everyone goes through through death and accidents, and just we need to greet it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a normal part of life.
It is.
We've got a cultural tradition to grieve. A lot of people, a lot of faith groups do a lot of grieving. Some not so much.
Yeah.
And my grieving, or lack of it, is based on my study, which is 22, 23 years plus of Zen, and my understanding of death.
Yeah.
And that is, to put it real bluntly, there's no such thing as death.
That is right. That is so true.
We have Zen memorial ceremonies, and that's one of the things we clearly say.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, we understand that the body dies.
Yeah.
The body dies.
Yeah.
the body and everything in this world is impermanent, always changing, changing, changing. We're talking about how, you know, not walking well and getting old and all that. That's change, that's reality.
Yeah.
And the human body does die.
Yeah.
But for me, and I say this when I do a memorial ceremony, the body is like 1 or 2% of who you are.
Yeah.
The other 98, 99% is your sort of psychosocial world being, which doesn't go anyplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that I've ever said or done, everything that's ever been said to me, done to me, all the things I've partaken in, including, for example, our son, because I knew him almost 40 years.
Yeah.
As my stepson, he was my son.
Yeah.
Everything he did, and he did a lot, is part of me.
Yeah.
And a part of a whole bunch of people, lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
That doesn't go anyplace.
Yeah. That's right.
Some people say, oh, well, you remember him, you have a memory of him, and that's true, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
He is a part of all these people, his family, his immediate family, his parents and aunts and uncles and siblings and so on.
Yeah.
So he's still alive, he's still here.
He is. He is here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thought, and it's true.
It is.
It is true.
It is.
I don't know. I had somebody invade my soul space once that was lifted out. So I was, after I lost this person, and there was absolute proof that the spirit and the soul was just letting me know everything was just fine. Yeah.
It is. And one of the benefits of that is that I understand that. And when I say I understand that, I don't mean up here.
Yeah.
I mean down here.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand it.
Yeah.
And so for me, dying is no problem.
Yeah.
I had an incident in May of 1999, which I will drastically abbreviate, where I thought I was going to die. I may have told this story to you before, too.
Give it a whirl.
In May of 1999, I was living in Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, teaching over there. I was taken hostage by a Muslim terrorist.
Yes.
And I was, well, I didn't really know, but I thought 50-50 chance that he was going to kill me.
Yeah.
Because he had a knife to my throat, and so it wasn't looking good.
And
one of the things that I went through, it only lasted 2 hours, so it was not long at all. Was that I had believed that I was okay with dying, but that afternoon I knew I was okay with dying.
Yeah.
And fortunately he let me go, and thanks to him, I consider that one of the most valuable experiences of my life.
You passed the test.
Yeah, well, it's
well, you were confronted with the prospect of not being here in this particular body, and you had time to sort of sort that out and figure out, well, okay.
Well, I'll tell you what happened is when I went into that afternoon in Central Asia, I thought, my idea was, I'm okay with dying. At the end of it, it was in here.
Really?
That I was okay with dying.
Yeah. So your chemistry, everything just felt...
Well, it's what we call in Zen digesting your understanding. In other words, it becomes part of your fiber, part of your bones.
Okay.
So that's what happened.
At peace with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there's a wake-up call. That's wonderful. So you came to grips already with death. I think our friends really need to hear that over and over again, that there is no death. There is no death.
Yeah.
And we're part of a wonderful universe, and we're all connected. And and even though you mentioned the immediate family being around, you know, and connected to this particular individual, I mean, he's a part of all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And part of what's so fascinating about all of that is Western philosophy and thinking, more or less, is when you die, that's it.
Yeah.
You go to heaven or whatever, that's fine, whatever your belief system is. But in Asia, virtually any spiritual tradition, there is no death.
Yeah.
Just the body going away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, and the mystery of what's next, we don't have to know.
We don't have to know. I've got some ideas which again have maybe become pretty well digested, but the real answer is I don't know. I believe in reincarnation.
I do too. I'd like to think the work that I have done is going to go with me.
That helps. According to Buddhist tradition and teaching, you will go to a sort of a limbo. We don't call it limbo, but limbo kind of place for exactly 49 days.
Okay.
And once a week, for 7 weeks, you're judged, your life is judged by all the deities, and at the end of the 49 days, they say, go forth into a new body.
Okay.
Is that true or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
What I do know is what I've said before, and that is my 70 years so far are a part of other people's lives, and that won't go away.
That's right. That is
so
right.
That's okay.
That's very good. That's a comfort to that, knowing that you've made a difference, you've loved and you've lived and you've shared and you've comforted and you've taught and you've moved into the pool of consciousness, which is just beautiful.
It's very comforting and very relaxing.
Yeah.
It is.
It's nice to live bravely and know everything's okay.
It's very freeing.
Isn't it?
To know that everything is okay. That's a very famous saying by our founding Zen teacher, Zen Master Sung San, who died almost 10 years ago. He was always saying, you know, be strong, live your own life, and
be yourself.
Be yourself.
Yeah, don't put it off. Yeah, I was thinking about being a character and authentic and, you know, letting it all go. Let's just show up and be yourself. Yeah.
And it's also very freeing in terms of being honest. I specifically, when I told my little story at the beginning, I'm not putting out names and so on, because that's somebody else's life, and that's not for me to talk about. My own life, I'll talk about anything.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that I'm a recovering alcoholic, I'll talk about that till the cows come home.
Good for you.
And so on and so forth. There are many things. I have no problem telling anybody anything about me.
Yeah.
I'm cautious talking about other people.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Which means you know yourself, and whatever it is, it's fine. Right?
It is fine.
Yeah. Now, in these stages that you were talking about, acceptance and grieving, you had another one, and I don't know if we've gotten to it.
Anger is one of the stages of grieving that
what do you make of that?
Traditional writers like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote about that, the 4 stages. I was angry when I first heard about this for parts of the first day or two, like what's happened and why, and that doesn't help at all. So anger is something that some people go through, and all those things, denial and anger and bargaining and depression and eventually acceptance, those are all very human. So I certainly understand anybody who's grieving maybe for a long time or angry for a long time. Just doesn't work for me.
They say under anger too, I don't know, for me, the grieving that I have done, when I really get into it and I wash it away and I shed my tears, it really is so comforting, and it dissolves the issue for me. I mean, no matter how long it's taken, it just seems to wash it away, and it's not in your chemistry or your face anymore. It's just it's somewhere else now. It's something that happened.
It is, and my experience is very similar to that. For me, anger, when it came up a couple months ago, simply led me to say, well, what am I angry at? Because my son didn't do what I wanted him to do?
There's a great question. That's a great question.
That's not my job to dictate anybody's life.
Yeah.
And
that's helpful for parents to hear, because when we think of our children and how we project onto them and what we expect, and you know, did we do it right or whatever, they are the biggest test for letting go for me.
That's true. I've been that with my own life. When I was a kid, adolescent, teenager, very high expectations. My father, and I love him dearly, and he was doing it out of love, totally out of love.
Yep.
Had high expectations. I want you to do well, want you to exceed, want you to go to Harvard like I did, which I did not. But it was all he wanted me to have a successful life, and it was totally love. And so raising kids and now grandkids, actually I've got 1.5 great-grandkids. I've got a second great-grandchild due in a couple months.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. But I've had to learn, because that's how I was raised, not to expect.
Yeah.
And my kids sometimes even question that. Don't you expect me to go to college? And I go, no.
Wonderful.
So
yeah, it gives them the grace to sit and think about what they want to do.
Exactly.
On their own.
Exactly.
Because only they know.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about anger and grieving and acceptance, and that's interesting, the part about the family that you see suffering, that you have to be present. That's the hard.
That's my job. That's my only job, really, in life.
Do they know how? Do they ask you how you're doing or how you feel, or can you be that open about? Well, I'm okay.
Yeah, most of the people I've dealt with are immediate families, so they know.
They know what makes you tick.
What's happened. Well, they know the story of what's happened, and so. But other people, like church members, for example, I'll tell them a little bit of the basics, but mostly I want to be there for them.
Yeah, yeah. As they want to be there for you, you want to be there. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't that interesting how we think, and when we embrace our society and our community and our being with other folks, because it's life. It's a good thing to be with others.
And it's been very nice that others beyond the family, I mentioned church and Zen Center members, been very supportive, very kind, very loving, which is so nice. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Do you feel, well, how do I say this? You've grown, of course you're always growing, but do you feel strong about how you have discovered how you did?
To be totally immodest, yes, I do. It's been a wonderful growth experience for me. I certainly regret that had to happen, but what's happened to me personally, my understanding, my insights, my rededicating myself to reaching out to other people, that's been a growth experience. For example, one thing that I've been aware of, but I haven't attended here, and now I'm going to start going, there's a Cape Islands Suicide Prevention Network that meets in Barnstable. I think I got their name right.
Okay.
And I'm going to trundle down to their once-a-month meetings.
Excellent.
Just see what I can do.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Oh, well, this is part of life. As you say, this is what it's about. We have to deal with life, death, accidents, unexpected stuff. I mean, I don't know about you. I often will wake up with the idea, just with the knowledge, gee, nothing's drastic happened overnight, or, I'm still here, or...
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm still here, My mother, who died at 96, used to look in the mirror and say, you're still here. What are you doing?
Yeah. Although you brought up a good point. Using the word unexpected. That was part of what happened. We had just no idea.
Clue.
Totally unexpected, and it was shocking initially for me for maybe a few hours, and then I pretty much adjusted. But expecting something, there are two problems. One is when you're expecting, I expect to live to 90 or whatever it is. Well, that's an idea, and if it doesn't work out that way, you're disappointed.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up.
You are setting yourself up. But perhaps more important is one of our Zen masters is always saying, nimble, nimble, nimble. In other words, be alert, be aware, be present, and then whatever happens, you're ready for it.
Yeah.
So sometimes Zen masters are wonderful teachers, and sometimes they'll do something unexpected just so you went, oh, what's happening? What's that? You know, I better adjust and adapt. Well, you should have been doing that in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. So you're saying really being in the presence, being aware that you're whole and you're alive and always will be, and
Feel like
everything is all right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's okay.
Everything is okay. Everything is complete, too.
Yeah. Yes.
There's nothing I want to become 6 weeks from now that I'm not doing now. Things will change in 6 weeks, but there's nothing that I'm wanting or expecting or needing or
you know, getting older, it's interesting. We were talking about my hair's no longer red, and I have some wrinkles, but you know, there's so many things we used to do that we bought into. And isn't the beauty of getting older? It's like, oh, thank God I don't have to get into that again. Or how could, you know, that was a phase. It helps you appreciate your journey about the things that you really thought were important at the time and that you totally immersed yourself in. And then there was another period, or a blue period, and then a pink period, and then this period. And getting older has its very nice side to it.
It has its very nice side to it. I'll tell a story about myself.
You have 2 minutes to do it.
Okay, and then I want to get to love, too.
Well, you better get to love first. Well, can you do both in 2 minutes? Okay.
We have Zen practice 2 mornings a week, 6 a.m. I used to go regularly. Now I don't. I'm very achy in the morning, and so and I used to say, oh, gee, I can't go to practice. No, I'm getting old, I'm achy, I don't go. So that's the end of that story.
Okay, all right.
I did want to talk about love, because my definition of love has changed in the last 3 months. I used to think love is, I'm here for you, how can I help you? What do you need? What can I do? I've added to that, and that is, can you please help me? Like you helped me up the stairs over there.
Okay.
That's part of love. That's part of
That's true.
My loving you, you're loving me, is asking for help.
Yeah.
And I came to that because I wish, I can't change it, but I wish my son maybe had reached out even a little more and asked for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
You got that insight from this experience. I mean, that's funny you should say that, because that's something I'm not good at, is asking for.
I used to be not good. A lot of us aren't good at that, and I have become, partly aging and partly recent events, I've become very good at asking for help. No problem.
That's nice.
It is nice.
Yeah. That makes you very human, very real, even more real than you were. Yeah. There's your gift from this experience.
But I was already complete.
Yes. Yeah, isn't that interesting to know that everything is in its place? Everything is where it's going to be, because you're witnessing life and you're observing, and life happens to you.
It does. Yeah.
It just happens to you. So.
And thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life is wonderful.
Yeah, it is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to applaud you for coming on, because I think this is inspiring to me and for all my friends watching in our last minute that, it's okay. There's a gift in it. That's important to remember.
Many gifts.
Even when you couldn't jog anymore and all those things, the gift of the cane and everything else. And my twin and I look at each other and laugh and say, oh my God, look at us. But we laugh. And I know there's a light side to our chuckling. I think there's an acceptance to it, but we try to make something out of it every now and then. It's like, oh my gosh. But I think a sense of humor is very helpful.
Oh yeah. Humor and we were saying before, acceptance. Just here it is.
Yeah.
And then to laugh about it too.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And thank you, my friends, for joining me on Awaken the Dream. We'll talk to you again soon.